Can money exist under a digital form? There can be several answers to this question. Of course, everybody knows what happens when a credit card is used. When a money transfer is done on the internet, in the end, that's digital money moving around. But since 2009, there is another kind of digital money that is more interesting, and which, at information technology and ideas level, will probably take on a huge role, and those are cryptographic currencies. The Bitcoin being an excellent example of those. The Bitcoin is a currency created from scratch by using a peer-to-peer network. It was created on the 3rd of January 2009 to be precise, based on ideas of a certain Satoshi Nakamoto. We don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. He described the protocol. He somehow managed to write the programs to make it function and get it running in 2009. But we don't know who he is. And that protocol has generated a currency now called the Bitcoin, whose market capitalization now amounts to 10 billion euros, which is rather substantial. So the Bitcoin is a real currency that only exists under a digital form. There are no bills or Bitcoin coins. It's something that only circulates over networks, and which functioning is based on what is called a shared file, also called the shared register, and that is called the blockchain. How does the Bitcoin work? That's a very interesting question. You have to understand how it works to understand the blockchain's concept. The idea is rather simple. The idea is to say, if everyone is all right with knowing who possesses Bitcoins, those Bitcoins don't need to be real. It doesn't need to have a tangible form such as metallic or golden coins or whatever. If everyone is okay to say, this account possesses 10 Bitcoins, and that account possesses 10, etc., then it can work. It can be a bit weird, and at the beginning one can have a hard time believing it. But that's the idea behind the Bitcoin. So there's a file called the blockchain, which indicates precisely how much there is on any account. And everybody's fine with that. And everybody is fine with it because the file telling that account possesses that much, etc. That file is duplicated 5,000 times in the case of the Bitcoin. There are 5,000 computers managing that file, and they all agree. They all have the exact same file, indicating the amount present on any account. That creates some kind of trust between users. Because nobody can cheat. Nobody can say, I'll modify that account so that I will double the amount I have because I want to. Nobody can create new Bitcoins without it being intended by the general Bitcoin system and the trust generated by the share of information. That's the idea behind the blockchain. And that idea can be generalized and can be used to do many other things. Blockchains, and particularly that of the Bitcoin, are based on primitive cryptographics. Primitive of what is called mathematical cryptography. And they are the one ensuring the sturdiness of the data handled by the blockchain. Its reliability and its indestructibility. One remarkable feature is that the Bitcoin and the blockchains that have been developed since then are based on mathematics. Actually, they are mathematics. The mastery that has been achieved on cryptography protocols, particularly on digital signature systems, on file hashing systems, enables the protocol to function without anybody being able to cheat. Because that's actually the problem. Nobody can be allowed to manipulate the protocol in order to take money for himself, or something else, if we talk about other blockchains. So mathematics, mathematical cryptography, thanks to this computer science maturity, to this digital science, is the Bitcoins and the blockchain's foundation. The protocol involves digital signatures, cryptographic signatures, and that's absolutely essential. The idea is as follows. When someone possesses Bitcoins, I'll talk about the Bitcoin case, but similar things can generally be found in blockchains. When someone possesses Bitcoins, that person will have two information about the account on which the Bitcoins are deposited. One information is the account number, like a bank account number, that will be called the public key. And the other information is the secret key. That secret key has the following property, and that's a small mathematical miracle invented by cryptologists. It's that when performing a transaction, it will be sent on the network with a signature, so that private key will be used to sign the transaction. And only that person can sign the transaction because he is the only one to hold the secret key. But everybody that knows the account number will be able to verify he is indeed the person that signed. So those double key systems allow that rather miraculous thing, where everybody can verify that a signature is genuine. And, of course, that's an essential point of the Bitcoin protocol, because the money needs to be able to move. It's not just about some accounts possessing money. Money needs to be able to move from one account to another. So there needs to be some kind of action, what we call transactions. And those transactions will be signed every time by the account owners. And nobody will be able to cheat. Nobody will be able to sign a transaction saying, from account A, which is mine, I'm going to transfer money to account B. Only I, the A account owner, will be able to sign transactions from account A towards another account. The blockchain can have many other applications, and that's a surprising thing in the Bitcoin's history. It's that at the beginning, it was believed that it could only be used to create cryptographic currencies. By the way, there have been 700 currencies created based on the Bitcoin's model, because the idea seemed so interesting, even brilliant. But for 3 or 4 years, people have started to realize many other things could be done. The idea is very simple. It's that what is used to store Bitcoin transactions is actually a file as hard as iron, which is impossible to falsify. It can't be modified. It is duplicated, in the case of the Bitcoin, 5,000 times, which means it is indestructible, totally indestructible. Half of the earth could blow up. There would still be copies of the Bitcoin's blockchain. And that idea of an indestructible shared file, on which nobody can write, without some kind of control being exerted by a set of other operators, meaning the other blockchain's holders, that allows to do many things. I'll give you 2 examples. It's been considered, it hasn't been done yet, to create a land register based on blockchains, which means property information on cutout plots, etc., would be written in a blockchain. Of course, only some authorities would be allowed to write information on that blockchain. When concluding a sale, information would be written, not by erasing the previous information, but by completing the previous one, telling that this plot has been sold, and the owner has changed. And once that information has been duplicated and rendered indestructible by the use of cryptographic primitives, that information would be an information anyone could access. Anybody could know, just by plugging on the internet, who possesses what, and in a much more reliable manner than if it was managed by a centralized file. Of course, the idea being that a central unit would manage all the information, but the fact that it is multiplied creates a sort of mutual trust, including countries where there is corruption and all sorts of things, where there is no land register, or if there is, it is not reliable. Another example of blockchain usage would be for schools and universities certificates. Today, when you want to find out if someone has a certificate, it's almost impossible, or else you need to contact and check with the university or the school who delivered that certificate. We could imagine a blockchain on which universities and schools would write down the certificates they deliver, so that when trying to know whether that person has indeed been granted a certificate, one would just have to read the blockchain. So again, the fact that the file is duplicated, and that only certain operators are allowed to write on it, in this case schools and universities, of course, all that creates a sort of trust, a certainty and warranty of the information delivered by the system, so that blockchain technology would be a very interesting way of solving the who holds what certificate problem. There are people offering new applications for the blockchain every day, of that shared and guaranteed information. That's the idea behind the blockchain. A shared, indestructible and guaranteed information. And we realize that a lot of things can be done, and that it can be useful for many different things. Some sort of true digital revolution is happening right now. And that's why banks, but not only banks, governmental organisms, everybody's interested in the blockchain. Everybody wants to know how it works, and what new blockchain could be imagined to create new things that are considered impossible to do for now.